June is Pride Month for the LGBTQ community. It's a time when many celebrate, and Albuquerque's annual Pride Parade is this weekend on Saturday, June 13th. But young people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender report high rates of bullying in their schools. Recent national surveys by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and advocacy groups found that LGBTQ teens report higher rates of bullying, violence, and substance abuse than their peers. New Mexico in Focus producer Sarah Gustavus sat down recently with some local leaders and a student to talk about these issues and what policies could help protect all young people in our state.
Thank you all for being here today. We have Amber Royster, Executive Director of Equality New Mexico, Erin Northern, co-chair of the Albuquerque chapter of the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, and Robin Wikuti, a high school junior. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Robin, I want to start with you. What was your experience coming out as a transgender person, especially in your school? Did you face some challenges?
Yes, well, I didn't necessarily come out as transgender. To me personally, I feel like it's all labels, just categorizing people. So, I just came out as bisexual, and then later on went to gay, and then discovering myself feeling transgender, and then, going as Robin, and I don't know, it's just, it's been a whole journey, just, discovering who I am and, gaining confidence about who I am and all this stuff.
Have your teachers been supportive?
Yes, I have some teachers who been confused and do not know what to do. And I have some teachers who just want to sit down with me and talk and just have that clarity just about my gender pronouns and just things that they want to make me feel comfortable in school.
What did that mean to you to have a teacher say, I'm not quite sure what to do here, so I want you to tell me what you need from me as a teacher?
I understand because it is a lot to understand, and you might not get it at the first conversation, so it can be a process, but I'm grateful that some teachers came up to me and just talked to me and want to get to know what I just to make me feel comfortable.
Yeah. Many young people who identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender, they face bullying in school and a lot of meanness and sometimes threats of violence from their peers. Is that something you've experienced personally?
I haven't witnessed or experienced any violence from openly gay. Well, actually yes. In middle school, I was always teased just because I wasn't openly gay at the time. I thought I was straight at the time. A lot of people used to call me out gay and all this stuff when I thought I was just really flamboyant just because I hung out with a bunch of girls and all this stuff. So that's why I didn't have a lot of confidence and I was ashamed to be gay at that age. But it's kind of hard because a lot of name calling and just people used to talk behind my back, and then it was hard, but I gained a lot more confidence and just I really don't care about what people say because it's just negativity that I shouldn't be worrying about.
Amber, Robin's to a place where she's feeling more confidence, but a lot of young people, they really do struggle with these things. What's at stake here for the mental and physical health of young people?
Well, I think we see incredible rates of depression. We see, yes, we see a lot of suicide, although we know that suicide is a very complicated issue and it's never the result of solely just bullying, but it certainly is, bullying is a contributing factor, definitely. And then what we're seeing in terms of the academic environment, I think, is something that we're really particularly concerned about because we're seeing that over 10,000 students are missing school every single month because they feel unsafe. That's just here in the state of New Mexico. And we're also seeing that over 50,000 incidents of bullying and harassment are going unreported in our public and charter schools, which really tells us that there is a culture of silence in our schools. And that's a really dangerous place for LGBT students in particular.
And Erin, when you work with teachers, what do you tell them about how they can address these issues and be a part of a solution?
We tell people the most important thing they can do to be part of the solution is first and foremost to listen to the needs of the students and what they're telling us so that we can make sure that the environment is safe for all students to learn and to identify as they are. Additionally, there are many things you can do in the school. You could be a safe zone representative and have a safe zone sign outside your classroom to indicate that.
Tell us what that means, a safe zone.
So a safe zone would be safe and affirming for all students, meaning that it's okay to self-identify, it's okay to come to that teacher and talk to them as a comfortable and safe adult to have conversations with about your identities and questions that you're having and where to go for information and resources.
You're a teacher yourself, or do you encourage teachers to start that conversation with a young person or wait for them to come to you and say, I want to talk about this?
As a teacher myself, I encourage other teachers to start the conversation every day in their classroom by using open and inclusive language. I think that when we use language that creates possibility and doesn't limit a student's identities, then in that sense we're opening the dialogue every day.
What is inclusive language, Amber?
Inclusive language is trying to get outside of that binary. You know, a great example that Erin actually uses frequently is when a teacher will stand in front of a classroom and say boys and girls. And so instantly they're adhering to this binary. So learning other words, other ways of addressing your class that don't put people into one category or the other, those are really great ways to start.
What about, sometimes I hear people say, this is really hard, this is not an issue for me, and I find it really difficult and I don't want to deal with this.
Well, I mean, I think it's something that it shouldn't be ignored, obviously, especially when we're talking about young people in our state, and particularly students and their experience in school. We do believe that the youth in New Mexico, I mean, these are our future generations, and if we're not creating safe and supportive environments for them, then those negative outcomes, you can see them down the road. There's a reason why there's such a thing called the school to prison pipeline. It's because as kids are pushed out of school, there's really only a couple of avenues that they have, and they often end up in a negative avenue, and it certainly doesn't help things like educational attainment in our state. It certainly doesn't help things like even our economy in the state.
And some students are pushed out of their homes, out of their families as well if they come out.
Absolutely. What we're finding is about 40% of homeless youth identify as LGBT, and that number honestly is just staggering. And so yes, LGBT youth are coming out, and unfortunately, you know, parents who don't necessarily know what to do, or they have a lot of fear around the issue, or just a lack of knowledge in general, you know, there's a reaction that takes place, and unfortunately it's a negative one of kicking their child out of the home.
Where can those young people go?
There's a great organization that actually just started here in Albuquerque called Casa Q. And they are a home for LGBT youth who have been kicked out of their homes. There's a number of different youth-oriented resources that are out there, including through Youth Development Incorporated, Young Women United. They have an incredible youth support program as well. The Transgender Resource Center of New Mexico. There's a number of different resources out there to support LGBT youth who are experiencing difficulty coming out in their identity or sexual orientation.
Robin, one of the things we've talked about here on the show is a push for gender-neutral bathrooms, and especially that request coming from the trans community, that would make people feel safer. Is that an issue for you in your school?
Personally, yes. Like, I have like experience where I do feel uncomfortable going to the bathroom, just like going to the boys, because I get that awkward vibe from guys, because like, you know, like, what are you doing here? But when I go to the girls' bathrooms, just not supposed to, but I still do, and it's just like, it could be hard sometimes, because some girls think just because I was born as a guy, they think I'm gonna like have that like threat to them, so it gets uncomfortable sometimes. But most of the time I don't have to worry about it, which is good. But I'm supposed to use a unisex bathroom, which is only offered the nurses' bathroom at some campuses. And that's not enough, because just one bathroom for a whole campus can be small.
Amber, how do we change policies like that to address these concerns?
Well, we have the New Mexico Safe Schools Initiative that's underway right now, and that's a collaborative project with GLSEN Albuquerque, Transgender Resource Center of New Mexico, the New Mexico GSA Network, and Southwest Women's Law Center. And part of that initiative is looking at our statewide bullying prevention policy to, number one, get it in compliance with state and federal laws. Number two, put some accountability measures, particularly around reporting. One of the other things that we're working on through the initiative is with the model transgender student policy in school. And there is a model policy that was published by GLSEN. And we're working with the Santa Fe Public School District and the Albuquerque Public School District right now to adopt and implement that policy, which basically amounts to trans students being able to use the facilities and participate in athletics and activities according to their gender identity.
Erin, would these policies benefit students even who aren't part of the LGBT community?
Absolutely. The best thing about creating safe and inclusive classrooms for LGBT students is that it creates a safe and inclusive classroom for all students and therefore supports the learning of all students.
Also, what other policies do you think could change in the schools? I know you work with teachers right now. Those are teachers who are interested in this, who want to be a part of this. What about teachers who this is not on their radar yet, this is not something they're thinking about?
Mm-hmm. I think an important policy would be to ensure that there's adequate, comprehensive professional development for all educators and staff in the schools, so that there's an understanding of what LGBT students face, what issues they face, what their needs are, and how to work with them in a supportive way.
Robin, what are some things that you think would be a good policy to have in place for students who are coming after you, maybe students who are right now are in elementary school or middle school?
Well, just my opinion, like I am amazed, like your identity at that very age. I wish I had like that confidence and discovered myself like that age. But just like for parents, like you want to like be totally supportive, and I think that can be very special because it's a whole journey for the family and personally. So I think like you want that support for your family and at school so they could feel safe and be true to themselves.
It's incredible. We'll put some of the resources available out there in the community on our website, newmexicoinfocus.org. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
Sarah.